that India has two problems, the problem of N and the problem of X. Let me explain what it is. Problem of N is just the problem of large quantities or numbers. We have 140 crore people, that's 1.4 billion population right here in one country. And the problem of X is the problem of diversity or variables, the jam trinity and the digital public infrastructure that India has built, which means we have the Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and mobile. Imagine a person in rural village having access to a 5G mobile SIM card and a smartphone is as empowered as someone sitting in Mumbai or even in Silicon Valley. There are 7 principles of responsible AI like transparency, accountability, explainability, human in the loop, fairness and bias, reliability and finally privacy. And it is about the US government's Compass system where they had created an algorithm to predict the rates of recidivism. Now, how do you balance this? The AI still doesn't know these emotions and relationships and culture that the person in front is more than just his credit score.
Hi. Artificial intelligence, a term once limited to science fiction, is now the heartbeat of our modern world. From business boardrooms to hospital corridors, from national governance to everyday apps, AI is transforming how we live, work, and grow. AI isn't just a buzzword anymore, it's the backbone of modern businesses, the pulse of global economics, and the silent partner in everyday life. In our everyday lives, it is simplifying tasks, personalizing choices, and connecting the world the way it functions. But this transformation also brings new challenges. From data ethics to workforce evolution, beyond convenience lies a deeper transformation, one that's redefining jobs, economies, and even ethics. We will try to explore the meaning of life in the age of intelligent transformation. In this podcast, we will explore how AI is redefining businesses, economies, and our daily lives as well. It's about redefining human potential and responsibilities in a data driven era. To experience the real essence of AI, today we have our esteemed guest, who is a subject matter expert in true sense. On behalf of Sakar Media Group, I would like to welcome Mr. Rohit Pandharakar, partner in consulting at EY India, specifically focusing on generative AI and agentic AI. He holds a master's degree in technology from Massachusetts Institute of Technology Media Lab at Cambridge. He has a vast working experience with many renowned international and national conglomerates, as well as startups contributing in the field of AI. He holds several US patents and international publications in the area of AI, and for his exceptional contribution, he got awarded with prestigious Data Science Professional of the Year 2019 award, Next Big Watt Unplugged Award 2015, Mahindra Innovation Platinum Awards consecutively for the year 2012 and 2013, and the list is simply unending. In this episode, we dive into how artificial intelligence is transforming industries, influencing national growth, and quietly weaving itself into the fabric of our daily lives. So, welcome to Sakar Media Group.
Thank you, Shreyas, and thanks to Sakar Media Group for having me here.
So, to start with, or to begin with, I would like to learn from you that you have worked across the sectors like financial services, manufacturing, and now AI consulting partner at EY India. How has your journey from MIT Media Lab's Camera Culture Group to becoming an AI partner shaped your understanding of technology's role in governance?
Well, I think it starts from the childhood. I had the good privilege to go to a school in Pune called Jnana Prabodhini. And the punchline of the school was nurturing intelligence for social change. Through this schooling, I was exposed to areas and topics like Gram Vikasan, which is rural development. And when I visited northeastern India, I saw how the travails of rural people in getting water or fetching water from rivers or wells from kilometers away was actually reduced by using simple technologies like a hand pump.
Mhm.
So when I saw engineering helping society and people in reducing their daily life troubles, I realized this is what I would like to do, as I had aspirations to become an engineer.
Okay.
And from there on, I started observing how technology has been helping people in solving their daily life problems. For example, when I was at MIT, we had this D lab, which is development lab, where MIT students and faculty were focused on solving problems for the developing countries. And one of the great examples I saw there, especially about use of AI in healthcare or governance, was in Africa. The problem of logistics for blood banks was a big problem. This was around 2011, almost 14 to 15 years ago. And I saw that technology like mobile and AI and chatting was used to autonomously plan for logistics to figure out if there is a demand for blood in one place and the blood is available in another place. How do you triangulate the data and communication using AI and mobile and chatbots to actually make sure the blood is made available where it's needed,
Right.
which was otherwise very difficult given the vast geographical expanse of Africa as a continent. So when I saw that example, I realized that technology can truly influence people's lives.
Right.
And that is what governance, good governance, should ideally achieve. So as I moved in my career and worked for multiple corporations, at EY, the place where I am currently at, I saw that even the lives of crores of Indians can be improved with simple technologies and AI. And an example of something where our org has contributed is Digi Yatra. Imagine not having to take a printout of the boarding pass, for which you at times get charged at the airport, uh, and instead not even carrying anything, but just your face becomes your boarding pass. Now, that is a true example of the AI that scans your face, recognizes who you are, connects it to the Aadhaar API, takes your Aadhaar identity, checks that with your PNR of the ticket, and identifies that this person has entered the airport. And oftentimes, my colleagues and several friends I spoke to tell you that in 7 minutes, you can now enter from the gate of the airport till the gate of the plane. And that is a drastic reduction and a great customer service experience that has been enabled by AI and technology.
Of course, because I know that that's a major pain area for any person who's boarding a plane and waiting in that area, going through all the processes, little difficult. But AI can do wonders. But as you rightly said, when the MIT times that we going to talk about, you worked on groundbreaking computational photography and imaging systems. How do those principles of making the invisible visible translate to governance challenges in India today?
So I would like to refer to the invisible here in governance is basically data and signals, which means what is happening and what is wrongly happening. How does the governing body come to know about it? For example, the direct benefit transfer schemes or the Manrega or several other government schemes, India has the challenge of at times the right benefits not reaching the right people. And on the other hand, there are duplicate identities and people wrongly benefiting from the government subsidies. Now, what AI could do is if you throw AI at all of this data, even if it is siloed or even if it is distributed across different departments or different geographies, AI can combine all of that at an inhuman speed and level and analyze, for example, where is the leakage of benefits happening, identify the fraudulent beneficiaries, and also identify where the need is existing but the schemes aren't reaching, and triangulate all of that and make sure that the money, every rupee that is being spent in government expenditure, reaches the real needy person instead of that being leaked out or wasted.
Right. Rohit sir, as you rightly said, the leakage of data and the leakage of privileges that are offered by the government are often misused sometimes. But I would love to know that because you are also a member of the ISO and Bureau of Indian Standards Committee on AI. What were the most pressing governance questions being debated at that international level?
So, in these committees that I have had the privilege of participating in, what I saw was AI as a technology is growing so fast and it is impacting people at different levels. So, first thing we did was to define what is AI and what is not AI. for example, is simple robotic automation or scripted automation, which is if this then that. Is that AI or not? It is not, right?
Right.
AI has to have an angle of prediction power or generative power that comes through mimicking the intelligence or by learning from historical data. So first is defining what is AI, because only then you can define the levels of AI.
Right.
And then the next step was we defined 4 levels of AI models that need to be, say, certified or that needed standards. For example, level 1 AI system could be your Spotify or YouTube song recommendation engine, which means you're simply being recommended songs, but the severity or the harmfulness or damage of that may be very little.
Right.
For example, at max, while you're happy, it may give a sad song recommendation or vice versa, but it doesn't have any ability to create trouble in your life or at society at large. Level 2 systems are slightly impacting your lives. For example, it could be a loan approval credit scoring model using AI.
Yeah.
Now, access to credit is important, and it's one of the things that lets people rise in their life. And if that is biased or wrongly done, a lot of people can get impacted. So that is a level 2 system where some sort of standard setting is required and some bit of oversight is required compared to the level 1 systems. And then level 3 systems could be something like, say, a autonomous car where autonomous parking or autonomous driving, where people's lives can get impacted because you can bump into someone else's vehicle or you can jump a signal and cause traffic trouble. And level 4 systems are the ones where there's a disease diagnosis or a disease treatment is being uh, referred to with the help of AI. Now, in that case, someone's life is at stake, and that's a level 4 system. So, these level 1, 2, 3, and 4 systems is where the standard settings were being done, and that is still in progress. And very soon, you will see at a global level companies and startups building such applications will have to do data disclosure as well as model disclosure, which means what data has been used to build this model has to be disclosed at least at an aggregate or higher level, as well as what models and algorithms are behind this also has to be disclosed in the spirit of transparency. And those who do it would be seen as the highest standard of ethical AI, because then you're telling people what you're doing and they willingly consent to using your services rather than they being kept in the dark as this is a black box.
Right. So, sir, India is increasingly using AI in the smart cities, digital identity systems like Aadhaar, and citizen service delivery. From your consulting experience, which of these applications do you see as truly transformative in Indian governance? And how do you make sure that AI projects in the public sector still creates measurable, meaningful impact, even when success isn't defined by revenue?
That's a great question because India has 140 crore plus population.
True.
So I often say that India has two problems, the problem of N and the problem of X. Let me explain what it is. Problem of N is just the problem of large quantities or numbers.
Just numbers, right?
We have 140 crore people, that's 1.4 billion population right here in one country. And the problem of X is the problem of diversity or variables. So the variables are also so large in India that if you take language, there are more than 20 languages. If you take, say, uh, the festivals or the rituals, culture, everything is so different. Food habits are different. The needs are different. The climate is different. So the variable X is wide ranging in India.
True.
So you have the problem of N and the problem of X. Now let's look at how AI can help solve this problem. I feel first of all, AI can handle the N by being able to crunch data at inhuman speeds and levels and effectiveness. Imagine being able to know how the, say, air quality in Mumbai is different from Delhi versus Chennai, and being able to process that and have differential recommendations basis that on multiple things like what the government can do in the city versus what they should ideally not encourage. On the other hand, for problem of X, where AI can help is it can deal with the market of one, or rather the world of one, which means for every individual, it can have a tailor-made answer. So rather than using one size fits for all policies or citizen services, if AI could help us deliver specific services using the robotic nature of AI, it achieves something that was hitherto impossible. And finally, I feel beyond the individual citizen services where AI can help is the administrative layer of governance can be empowered with intelligence and data. For example, imagine being able to look at the traffic data and the crop sowing or the crop outputs using satellite imagery, which can be multispectral. And you may know that, okay, this much of demand is there in the global market for this commodity versus this much of crop sowing has happened. So, what output am I expecting? And what is the global demand as well as local, state, and city level demand for that grain or commodity?
Right.
And then the government can plan its procurement and the pricing of that also intelligently while also keeping best interests of citizens and farmers in mind. And that could be done more effectively than again using one size fits for all or a general estimated decision making.
Rohit sir, coming to your talks, like the point that you are making here, truly I can feel the essence that you always try to do good for the society, and also being consulting to government authorities many a times. The Smart Cities mission and Niti Aayog's national strategy for AI outline an ambitious vision for leveraging AI for social good and inclusive health. In your view, what is the current gap between these vision and on-ground implementations? How can India ensure that AI governance initiatives extend beyond urban innovation hubs to effectively reach rural and underserved populations?
So I feel one mindset change we may have is oftentimes our policies and governance approaches are very physical first or infra first,
Okay.
which means we think of building more schools, building more hospitals, building more facilities, which is required for a country like India for sure. But oftentimes the resources are scanty. You may not have the money and the number of teachers to build so many schools and run them. And the same is for primary healthcare centers. I think one approach change that we could do is think AI first and citizen centric or the world of one service level, which means imagine being able to do healthcare via not only just hiring more and more ASHA workers or the primary healthcare workers, but enabling them with AI chatbots or assistants so that they can do the job of 10 people with lesser effort and faster. For example, imagine the ASHA worker being able to quickly diagnose what is happening and suggest remedies without having to spend so much time thinking herself, while she just does the checker job and the maker or the initial analysis is done by AI. Of course, that has to be proven with more and more practicing and experimentation, but that could change our governance delivery framework. And the other thing I feel is going to help that is the JAM Trinity and the digital public infrastructure that India has built, which means we have the Jandhan, Aadhaar, and mobile. Imagine a person in rural village having access to a 5G mobile SIM card and a smartphone is as empowered as someone sitting in Mumbai or even in Silicon Valley because he has access to the same chat GPT or
Right.
Perplexity or a Gemini model, but also in his regional language, whether it's Marathi, Gujarati, Bengali, or whatever it is. And then the gap between the person in a rural village and another person sitting in Mumbai or Delhi or Chennai uh, is reduced down to almost nothing. So, if this approach of AI governance delivery is used, perhaps India may benefit a lot because this is where the problem of N and X that I earlier referred
Right.
to can be solved.
Right. Sir, while talking to you, and one word actually interests me a lot.
I would also like to refer to Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar's framework of more from less for more in this context. What he says is India needs to do more, which is reach out to more people for education, healthcare, and agriculture, etc. services with lesser resources like lesser money, lesser effort, lesser time. But for more means for more people, for crores of people. So, whatever I just said about AI being able to reach every individual will achieve more services and resources and benefits for him with less resources being consumed while delivering and reaching out to more people, crores of people who are in need of these services.
Okay. you've been talking to, working this AI for rural people or in local languages. But one word which attracted me or my attention is agentic AI. How it is different from a regular automation, because we are already going through a lot of automation in various sectors by various means. But then how it is different from the regular automation, this agentic AI, what is exactly?
So we are all using a lot of copilots or individual chatbots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Agentic AI is a system where there is a master agent and there are a lot of worker agents
Okay.
underneath. They operate like a team with the master agent or orchestrator being their leader. And they all have a shared context or shared memory, which means whatever another agent has access to, whether it's data or information or say API access or tools, is available to all other agents. So they share data among themselves
Okay.
like a healthy team of multiple workers. Third thing they can also do is they have shared goals, which means they are all supposed to achieve certain common goals.
Hmm.
For example, achieving a certain outcome like a healthcare diagnosis, or another thing like say approving a loan, or helping someone resolve a certain administrative problem. Those goals are shared among all the agents, and they
Okay.
together, like truly collaborative teams,
Hmm.
help achieve that goal to the end user, which is us. And the last thing is they also have a reinforcement learning feedback, uh, which means as they operate in the real world, whatever interactions they have, they can get a thumbs up and thumbs down feedback. And from that, they learn and become more and more intelligent. And the highlight of all of this agentic system is they can be autonomous in certain decision making only to the level that we allow them to. For example, they may autonomously allow a certain appointment, uh, provided that everything else is matching. There is consent from the user and the system has a slot for appointment available, whether it is a visa appointment or a test drive for a car purchase or even for a passport appointment. So all of this becomes possible through agentic AI.
Rohit sir, I was referring to one of your podcasts, which is AI podcast on India LLMs. You spoke about AI evolving from text generation to autonomous decision making. How could agentic AI reshape governance? And I would definitely love to, get some real time examples from you.
So the way agentic AI can help is, first of all, imagine having an agentic service for every governance service. For example, say passport issuance. Now for that there may be a master agent that is talking to you, but it is also behind the scenes
Mhm.
having many worker agents which are helping it access multiple data systems. For example, the moment you apply for a passport, another agent may go and check your Digi Locker,
Right.
and one agent can go and check your ITR from income tax. So he is bringing in the income data, the DigiLocker, provided there is consent, of course. Everything happens with consent and opt-ins. But if DigiLocker data can show you the vehicle ownership, as well as things like educational certificates, which are now available in DigiLocker,
Mhm.
and at times from, say, other government services like your traffic challans
Hmm.
and the tickets you have incurred, all of that data put together can easily create a very credible information profile about you that tells me whether this person can easily get a passport or not. And not just that, it can also go to the calendar and check appointments in the respective passport center and allocate him an appointment. Not just that, while applying, oftentimes we are worried, do you have all the documents in place or not? You oftentimes go to a human agent or a broker who can help you get all the documents in order so that you don't waste your fees or get the passport in time. All of that may not be required if an AI master agent chatbot is talking to you and telling you what documents are required. And you can even ask whether a rental agreement will suffice instead of an electricity bill, and it may tell you, yes, that is okay. And imagine how much of a difference and comfort it will give to the end user. So, this is how a governance problem can be solved. And by the way, I must note that Indian passport appointment and processing system has already been evolved a lot through digital changes,
Right.
and you often hear stories of how easy and quick it is, but it can be taken to the next level, and I'm sure those behind it in the government are already thinking of it, but I'm just trying to paint a picture of what is the art of possible.
Just taking this example of issuing a passport, and I could connect the dots. Just we spoke till now, like connecting information to underprivileged people or maybe underserved people, getting their information right in time, issuing the services to them right in time, saving all the time. It is going to be a mind blowing. thing. I'm very sure about it. So, moving ahead, data-driven decision making in central to AI is a promise which is given by AI, that it is helping us to make data-driven decisions. Yet, government data in India often suffers from fragmentation and quality issues. How do we fix these fundamental gaps and ensure AI actually reduces bureaucratic delays and red tape without compromising on due processes or fairness?
That is a very important question, because oftentimes when we think of government data for India, the problem is whether the data is complete or not, whether it's accurate or not, and it's siloed, like you said, which
Hmm.
is it's available with multiple ministries and multiple databases. How do you bring this all together? So one answer to that, which fortunately AI can give, is to use proxy data and honest signals. Let me explain what each of
Hmm.
those are. Proxy data may mean something like a variable from which you can interpret a lot of stuff. For example, if I want to know how many car owners are there in a particular metro city in India, I can refer to the car registrations or the toll nakas or the toll fees that are being paid for entry and exit per day and over the month, as well as the new car registrations. And that can give you some idea of how many vehicle owners are there truly in a metro city like Mumbai or Delhi or Pune. Now, using this data along with honest signals, what are honest signals? Let's say the these are signals that people cannot fake, or they are truly there and they just happen as your digital trails. For example, while you are traveling, your passport gets stamps. And those are honest signals about your travel history.
Hmm.
Or when you are taking, say, grains of rice from the ration distribution center, uh, you are giving data about how much of rice your family is consuming,
Right.
right? And that too over a period can reasonably give an estimate of how many members are there in your family
Hmm.
and what grains are you actually taking from the rationing center. So that is honest signal. Now, such honest signals and proxy data together can help government in a lot of decision making. Again, that we use fair variables and with consent, or at aggregate level, can still help a lot. And let me give an example. Imagine using satellite imagery. Now, ISRO has been working on Project Bhuvan, which is like Google Earth, and it has multispectral data of Indian soil and taken from the satellite imagery at meter level resolution. Now, that multispectral data can even let you figure out whether the crop sown in a particular farm is tur dal or rice or whatever it is. So imagine if you use AI on top of that imagery, government can estimate how much of crop sowing of a particular crop type has happened and when has it happened if you look at the time series data and the multispectral data. And on the other hand, the AI can also refer to the commodity pricing and global demand for a commodity as well as local demand
Right.
and the trends over the years from the market, the agriculture market data of what is getting bought and sold, etc. So you can on one side estimate the demand supply, on the other side you have how much of crop is being grown, and you can give an advisory service to the farmers to guide them on what may work, what may not, at a very granular level. And on the other side, you may have more intelligent decision making on what grains to procure in what quantity, how much to import, how much to export. And I'm sure currently this data is being used already. I can see that in the news headlines that we see. But imagine with agentic data, a lot more proxy data and honest signals being added, you can make that even more and more efficient so that no grains are wasted. Imagine sometimes in India, I feel pain to see that there are floods in one place and
Yeah.
there is water scarcity and famine in another place. Or in one place, the farmers are compelled to waste away certain crop output, like tomatoes or onions, and they are spilled all over the roads. But on the other hand, there are people who are not able to get that crop or food. So if AI can sort of manage the algorithm and match the demand supply to effectively distribute these resources, it can help our country a lot. And let me give you an example of where this has already worked. If you look at smart grids for electricity,
Mhm.
already the national grid is able to figure out where there is extra demand, where there is higher supply, and the national grid redistributes the electricity in an effective way so that no energy is wasted and also no area is left in the dark. Imagine that kind of a national food grid or a grid for other natural resources also happening with the intelligence of data and AI. it can help the country a lot because you're just effectively utilizing your resources and making everyone happy.
All right. So now we can say that India is, slowly adopting AI as like the Tamil Nadu Safe and Ethical AI policy is one example of state-level AI governance. What should a national AI governance framework look like? And how do we balance innovation with regulation? And if an autonomous AI makes a wrong decision, whom to be going to bear the ultimate responsibility for it, like the designer, the vendor, or the government?
Shreyas, I think that's a great question. And in the AI vocabulary, we call it responsible AI or ethical AI. The responsible AI principles are well established globally by now. There are 7 principles of responsible AI like transparency, accountability, explainability, human in the loop, fairness and bias, reliability, and finally privacy. So these 7 principles of responsible AI actually define how one could use AI really well. And one thing I would like to refer to, because you specifically asked the question about who is accountable. So accountability actually is always left to some human entity or institutional entity and not to AI. And that's a principle of responsible AI. For example, imagine a driverless car gets into accident. Who is accountable? The company that made the driverless car OS or algorithms, or the company that made the car, or the person who owns the car, or someone else. So in this case, actually, I feel the person who owns the car will be ultimately accountable for what happens with the car because he otherwise has to take back the wheel in
Right.
control. Similarly, now imagine scenarios where somebody has to take a decision on a medical diagnosis or a decision on a loan approval or a decision on a large government project like whether a flyover or a large bridge has to be constructed somewhere or not. The ultimate accountability has to lie with some entity. And without that, those systems of artificial intelligence or agentic AI systems should not be ideally deployed. Uh, in India, fortunately, we also have the regulators taking note of this fact. RBI has recently come up with the free AI white paper, which is fair and responsible use of enterprise AI. And that white paper says the same 7 sutras of responsible AI, if followed, they are encouraging the financial services firms to also cautiously use AI and improve the business growth, credit access, as well as customer service. So I'm glad to see that Indian regulators are quite forward in thinking and they are encouraging AI rather than discouraging it, but with cautious optimism is how I would put it.
Rohit sir, when we talk about AI for humans, I think human oversight is really essential, but it can take bottleneck AI efficiency gains. How do we design human in the loop system that retain the accountability without slowing down the service delivery by AI?
Well, human in the loop essentially refers to the maker checker concept in the sense, oftentimes, even in areas of critical importance, like say financial services or healthcare, there are typical protocols where somebody else is the maker of the document or the checklist, and somebody else is checking it and then verifying or approving or giving a green signal. Now, in this case, see, AI has to be looked at as a virtual worker who can take away the grunt work or data crunching or time consuming tasks, which is mostly focused on the maker, which can take hours for a human to do. For example, if you have to read through several thousand or hundreds of pages of documents to make something and extract data points, AI can do that in seconds, not even minutes. So you can use AI for the maker, and the checker still has to be the human. And even while checking, the AI can be an assistant, like you can quickly search, oh, where was that mention, or where is this document, and what was this value. So even the checker's time can be saved, and the checker can always refer to the original document as a reference just in case he's worried about things like hallucinations in LLMs, where the LLMs just make up certain numbers or facts. So all of that can be kept in control, but this maker checker concept is a good way to think of human in the loop. And as long as the checker does his job by focusing on the right things, the maker saves you a lot of time, effort, money, and the checker still does his job well and gets to focus more time on checking so that the end outcome is of a higher quality or better benefit. So it benefits all, which is why if the 7 principles of responsible AI are applied well, one could create a wonderful outcome out of AI for our world.
Brilliant. Then what is your playbook for driving AI adoption in the public sector? Because the challenges like slower processes, delayed decision makings, changing ruling political parties, lower literacy rate, and adamant nature towards adapting changes. Can you share a success story where AI in governance delivered measurable and ethical impact? What made it work?
So I would again like to refer to the African blood bank logistics example,
Mhm.
where, as you know, Africa is a large geographical expanse continent, and there is enough diversity within Africa as well. And healthcare is a major concern because the resources and expenditure on healthcare is relatively lower compared to the real requirements or needs, especially in terms of blood banks. There were blood banks in Africa, but they were so disparately located that wherever there was a need for a patient for operation or regular blood transfusions, etc., it was very hard to get it just because of the information asymmetry or the information gaps. So what data and AI could do there is that along with the government authorities, they were able to map the location and quantity and types of blood bottles available in one side, and on the other side they were able to get the demand spotted and broadcast to all other blood banks in real time, and also recommend which blood banks are the ideal ones to supply that blood because of the logistical calculations. For example, even if the distance is higher, maybe because the roads are better, the blood can reach there faster, or the availability of trucks or the transportation mechanisms versus unavailability, all these factors taken into account intelligently can help save lives.
Right.
Now that is a great example of AI and data together helping make lives not just better but save lives.
Right. But sir, when we talk about success stories, when we talk about AI is still evolving, AI is still gearing up, there might be a case or there might be some instance where AI also failed miserably or could not deliver the way output was expected. Is there any real-time example that you would like to share?
Yes, Shreyas, there is a very strong example that is fairly widely known in the public domain, and a lot has been written about it, and I'm sure people have learned lessons from it. And it is about the US government's Compass system,
Hmm.
where they had created an algorithm to predict the rates of recidivism. What is recidivism? It is the probability or chance that a person who has been imprisoned once and released is likely to come back to the prison or not by committing another crime. Now, this recidivism rate actually can be studied from data, right? So, uh, a lot of people tried creating an algorithm or a system where the historical data of what has happened in the past with several other people and what happened to them about the recidivism was fed into the algorithm, and the machine learning techniques were applied to study that and use it to predict whether to release the next person or not by simply using his parameters.
Right.
So that without applying a lot of human thinking, perhaps the algorithm can also give a probability of what is likely to happen, and then you can take an informed decision. But here what happened was there was a lot of bias in the historical data related to the Afro-American ethnicity, and they were higher and more in prevalent in terms of the number of imprisonments as well as recidivism, and then a lot of data about them was prevalent in the training data set as well. And because of that, it was quite visible that when it was being used, the outputs or the probabilities that it was estimating for a particular ethnicity was slightly biased or slightly unfair to them, because even if the person is good, he was, because he belonged to a certain community or race or ethnicity, he was being sort of penalized for it, and that could have magnified further if this system continued. Unfortunately, this was brought to notice by several other folks within the ecosystem, and then there were people who acknowledge the issue and they are trying to refine it further through the principles of responsible AI. And by giving this example, I don't mean to critique any particular government system, but I just want to show this well publicized example of how a bias in historical training data can impact future outcomes, and hence doing it while sticking to the responsible AI principles is important.
I think that's why the human in loop concept is also very much important
Yes,
while implementing AI.
because ultimately somebody has to apply his brains, the
Right.
real brains,
Right.
and not the AI brains, to also be emotional about the decision and be fair. And sometimes the AI may not have the context. And I'll give you an example. I was just talking to a banker, and we were talking about how AI can take decisions and still cannot take the most accurate decisions because it misses on certain data. Now, take an example of a situation where in a nondescript village, there's a family where the father has been taking the daughter to the bank branch uh, for so many years, and he was having a chai with the branch manager and so on. And the same daughter, over 20 years, has grown up, has gotten a job, and she's a fresher, right? She doesn't have a lot of credit history and is now applying for a loan in the bank.
Right.
AI may just look at the data that she's a new employee, she doesn't have much credit history, and may at times be worried about her loan repaying capacity, and irrespective of the gender, by the way. But if the branch manager knows that her father has been around for so many years, he knows the whole family, he knows the character and the culture of the family, he may be more willing to offer that loan, and the decision may still not go wrong. Now, how do you balance this? The AI still doesn't know these emotions and relationships and culture, that the person in front is more than just his credit score. And those aspects perhaps are very hard for the AI systems to capture. So I feel at best we can use AI as a true co-pilot and don't make him the pilot. So like the co-pilot tells the pilot, at what height are you flying? What is the air pressure outside, which direction we are going, and how would we reach the destination, how much fuel is left. He's giving you all the information necessary to refer to while taking the decision, but the steering wheel or the pilot steering is still proverbially in our hands, and I hope that stays in our hands, and we don't let it be taken over by the AI.
Right. But I think many government departments lack AI talent. How do we upskill civil servants and bureaucrats to work efficiently with AI? What should be your advice to the young civil servants and policymakers who want to champion AI in their departments but face resistance and inertia? What role do initiatives like EY's AI Academy play? I would like to love to know that.
So I believe this technology of generative AI and agentic AI is so impactful that everyone has to learn what it is and embrace it. And actually, it's not very hard. It's not like learning to code in Python or in C++. I remember in my childhood days, we used to have this thick book called Let Us See. And anyone reading that or going for classes to learn C programming was considered to be someone making an effort to become a computer programmer. But today, the language of programming with LLMs and generative AI has become English, or even any other language for that matter. Rather, spoken language can become the language of programming, because the LLMs can simply understand spoken word instructions, and because of which prompt engineering has taken prominence. What is prompt engineering? Prompt engineering is nothing but instructions given to the AI agents or the co-pilots in spoken languages, in sentences, that you have to behave like a data analyst and refer to this data set. Please give me an analysis of, let's say, traffic data or medical data, and also tell me what is the prevalence of this versus this. If you just give these instructions, the AI understands it and will do it. Now, coming back to how the civil servants can use this, actually, I would like to talk about how the flywheel of governance with AI can operate effectively. So, on one side, you create data sensors and data capture systems that capture, store, and process data, even if siloed, and then give it to AI, where AI gives the civil servants insights. But what question to ask is the skill of the civil servant. In fact, I would say that in the world of chatbots and ChatGPT, the questions are more important than the answers.
Prompts.
So if they, yes, the prompts. So if the civil servant artfully asks the right questions, the data has all the answers, and The AI will give all the answers presented in a ready-made plate in front of him, and then he has to, almost like a orchestra composer, he has to press the right buttons or make the right tunes work to let the execution of governance happen in real world. But it doesn't stop there, Shreyas. Then you can also use AI to take feedback, right? And you complete the whole cycle or circle of governance where you're taking constant real-time feedback, iterative feedback, and give it back to data and algorithms, and they give you iterative insights, and then you improve at every step. So this flywheel of governance using data and AI with iterative feedback and with right questions and thinking is what may make the future civil servants more and more successful. And I hope in the Sakar Geopolitical Summit that is coming up very soon, the administrators and civil servants debate and discuss how this flywheel of AI and data driven governance with responsible AI and their own art of playing the orchestra composer to press the right buttons and music to create a harmonious outcome of a civil society for India which is developed and happy can happen. In addition to that, I would like to also talk about the Indianness of the AI and AI governance. I believe that India needs AI by Indians, for Indians, made in India. So AI made for India, by India, and built in India is something that we should aspire for. And I'm glad that with our leaders in the nation, like the Government of Information Technology Ministry, MIT, as well as leaders like Nandan Nilekani who are advocating this, India will have the Jan AI, which is not Gen AI, but Janata's AI, which my friend Jasprit Bindra fondly calls, is indeed the answer to all of this AI governance questioning. Because if that happens, India can truly say we have built our own AI that helps our lives improve.
True. And I think the future is really bright because India is a talent pool. We have all the capabilities that we can go ahead with. Looking ahead, to 2030 or 2040, how do you envision AI powered governance in India? What will citizen government interaction look like?
So I think in 2030, which is about 5 years from now, which is by the way very hard to predict in the world of AI that is changing so fast, we would have a future of networked agents talking to each other, representing individuals, entities or institutions, cities, governments, and nations. For example, imagine the government department of, say, agricultural ministry having a master agent that is able to give services, citizen governance services to all the farmers with access to the data like the weather data, the satellite imagery, the government schemes, as well as the current government exchequer balances and budgeted expenditure for the agricultural department, distributed by states and cities, etc., and by schemes. On the other hand, the farmer also has his own agent.
Right.
In fact, his master agent not just talks to the farmer, but also talks to the farm through the sensors.
Right.
It has access to the satellite data of his farm. It has access to the irrigation system. It has access to the pH value of the soil. It has access to the weather data as well that government is also referring to. And then the farmer's agent and the government's department's agent are talking to each other, and millions of such many-to-one interactions are happening with the government ministry, and they effectively help everyone perform better, which means better output per hectare, more economical value for the farmer, better distribution and usage of the crop output, better irrigation, the input side, output side, as well as the actual farming is done better. And this is the future for every sector, including schools, hospitals, farms, transportation, citizen services like passport, visa, or say, even public distribution of, electricity or any other services that the government has to make. Even the decision of whether a flyover should be built somewhere or not. The people in the locality through their agents can vote and nudge the government that there is really a flyover needed here, and the government agent will take a notice of this in real time and be able to maybe analyze, negotiate, and come together for a concrete solution. So the lack of data, lack of transparency can go away and a more effective outcome could be built. While it sounds magical and dreamy, it is the art of possible. And I think it is left in our hands and our civil servants as well as citizens together to make this reality come true for India.
Rohit sir, when we know that India is at the forefront on a global platform and also at the same time, our leadership of India is promoting being Atmanirbhar, that is being self-sufficient. So according to you, shall we have our own AI or we should be relying on the global AI platforms which are already available? What's your thought on that?
That's a great question, Shreyas, and I think it's a much debated question. I think the government rightly has the aspiration for Atmanirbhar Bharat. I would say we should be Atmanirbhar for AI as well. Think of something like Bharat AI, which is made for India, made by India, and made in India.
Mind blowing. Rohit sir, when we talk about the success stories, we know the capabilities of AI. We can use AI to build the future of the nation. But at the same time, when we talk about AI for governance, governance doesn't mean only progress or success. It also have to deal with many problems, specifically like climate change or pandemics and rapid urbanization, 21st century governance problems that we usually face. So how can AI help Indian govern for resilience and sustainability? What's your thought on this?
So, Shreyas, before we go to the answer, I would like to give some examples of where the climate crisis or pandemics, etc., situations are happening around us so that we can relate to what I'm saying. Look at the Marathwada floods that recently happened, right? Even in 2025, we as a nation and farmer as an individual has no control over the floods and the untimely rains, and tons of crops were wasted and the government had to intervene and also rightfully help the farmers economically as well, right? But it's a damage that nobody can deny, an unfortunate one. Similarly, think of COVID pandemic, where people were struggling to find the hospital beds, the oxygen cylinders, and even what help is available. So on the other hand, we also have our natural problems because of our population, like stampedes at places of worship where we hear people. There was a recent news also where at a place of worship, some people died because of stampede and overcrowding. Now, if you look at all of these problems, these are actually effectively data sensing and effective algorithmic managing problems. Let me explain how. I think there can be a four-step procedure to handle this using data and AI.
Okay.
The first step is track what is happening, track the crowding or overcrowding, track the pandemic searches that people are making or hospital admissions. So you're tracking it, right? Or track the rainfall through sensors. So you're tracking what is happening. And the second step you can do is actually do spot checks of whether something is going wrong or not, like alerts, right? So you're interpreting the moment something goes wrong, you're able to predict that this is heading towards a disaster, right? So you track, you predict the alerts, and then third step is surgical or spot actions, which means the moment you see overcrowding in an area, you stop further entry and request people to start stepping out. Or in pandemic, once you start seeing a pandemic outbreak, you start advising people at appropriate time more effectively. I think even during COVID, all nations did that, all governments did that. But how can that be more effective, right? So, which is spot actions. And the fourth is the feedback loop or the iterative loop, which means you track, spot alerts, take action, take feedback, and loop it back and see whether there was a change. So, for example, overcrowding, a simple example, has your action led to reduction of crowd or not? If not, repeat, rinse and repeat until optimal outcome is achieved. Now, it may sound so simple, but if it is a simple checklist of track, spot alerts, take actions at the spot level, and iteratively feedback over it, I think it can solve a lot of our problems like pandemic or overcrowding or problems like climate crisis or heavy untimely rainfall. Let me explain how. Imagine, I remember and I wish in 2020 when COVID arrived, we had such agentic systems telling us which hospital bed is available where for whom and how far is it away and optimally is helping all the citizens. figure out who can go where. Now, I agree that, as I said, India has the problem of N. If there are not enough hospital beds, even AI can't solve the problem. But at least it can assuage or reduce the problem to the level that all the beds are effectively used and the nearest bed is allocated to the nearest patient and in the appropriate time rather than somebody suffering. At least even if we can bring efficiency in whatever we have. And also let AI tell us that had we installed the COVID centers in these spots and in this quantity, how we could have done better. Now, that is the iterative feedback that even after the COVID pandemic, we can learn from so that next time such a thing is faced, we are better prepared.
Right. So I think AI is more about data. So we, being responsible citizens, not only Indians but global citizens, we have to generate such kind of data which is actually going to be beneficial to generate more data more efficiently and for the more benefits of the human society. Coming to an end for this discussion, I would definitely would love to hear from you, because when AI, we talk about future, future is also about younger generations. So what would be your advice to the younger generations, those who are going to actually handle AI for the nation, for the world in coming future, and especially about the opportunities that AI going to offer? And as I rightly said, precautions are very much important while feeding AI. So what would be your advice?
I would like to refer to the book World is Flat
Mm-hmm.
by Thomas Friedman. In that book, in the very first chapter, Nandan Nilekani once told Thomas Friedman, look, the world is flat. Meaning, a software engineer in Bangalore is now the same as a software engineer in Boston. And the gap has been leveled and it's a level playing field. I would like to refer to the same phrase, the world is flat, and tell this to the younger generation that look, if you embrace AI, the world is indeed flat because with AI, you have access just with a smartphone and maybe a 220 rupees per month 5G data connection and a free Perplexity or a Gemini or a ChatGPT subscription that is available to everyone in local languages and in voice mode and in text mode. You have access to the same information, resources, training, and intelligence assisting you to achieve any dream you may have. So I would like to add furthermore, not just a software engineer in Bangalore and Boston is the same anymore. Now, a boy with dreams in his eyes in a village in India is also equivalent to a businessman in New York because both of them have access to the same intelligence, the same resources, information, and speed and efficiency that AI can bring in. And recently, Gemini, Perplexity, and ChatGPT all have announced that they would be free for Indians through different means and partnerships. Now, irrespective of the AI agents or co-pilots you use, it is a gospel truth that the access to opportunity, intelligence, and resources has been flattened. And I think that's a wonderful phenomenon because it allows every Indian to achieve his dreams without feeling the scarcity of resources or even opportunity. And then the world is yours.
I think when we always refer to a term called as future is bright, actually it's a hope statement that future is bright. But I think while having a discussion with you on the AI, the world is going to be surely bright. Why? Because AI is with us. Person like Mr. Rohit Pandharakar is also there to guide us. Rohit sir, before coming to an end to this discussion, I heard a lot of stories about you, and I heard that when you met a great personality there in US and you decided to come back to India catching the very first flight and try to contribute to the nation. I would love to hear that story because I'm very sure this is going to be the inspiration for many younger generations to come.
The story goes like this.
Uh-huh.
I actually studied, as I said, at a school called Jnana Pravodhini, whose motto was motivating intelligence for social change, which means they were grooming leaders and building their intelligence so that leaders of tomorrow could be built who can drive social change or contribute to the nation. After that, I ended up at a place like MIT, fortunately, which was one of the world's best place to study engineering and artificial intelligence. And I happened to bump into Mr. Anand Mahindra, who is one of the great leaders I admire because even if you look at Mahindra Group's punchline, it says rise, which means build businesses that help people rise and contribute to the nation and the world at large. So, inspired by all of this, when I ran into Anand Mahindra, he asked me, why are you planning to be in the US after all this education? Why don't you come back and contribute back to the nation through our businesses? And that line of his reminded me of this line in a movie that says, Apni chaukhat ka diya, giving light to neighbor's house. So I actually took a flight, the immediate first flight available back from US to India after my convocation. And I was fortunate that Mahindra Group gave me the opportunity to start contributing back to India through the world of artificial intelligence. And ever since then, I've had the opportunity to grow myself in the world of artificial intelligence as a subject matter expertise, and lucky that I've been able to contribute to the nation. I would like to go back as well to a song that they taught us in our school called Tatakkim. It basically means in English, so what? If you gave a lot of talks and people clapped, so what? If you built a bungalow and bought a car, so what? It's all of no use if your expertise and efforts are not put to the nation's service. So that song pretty much inspired me to think of how can whatever I have learned from the world's best places and from one of the world's best personalities and leaders like Anand Mahindra and a place like MIT, how could I contribute back to the nation and use whatever expertise and knowledge I have to build a better India? And fortunately, today I'm happy to say that through my current role, I am able to contribute through the expertise in artificial intelligence to improve businesses and hopefully the society at large for India, in India, and happily so.
Fantastic. As we rightly say, future is bright. But I think that's a hope statement. But now, while having a talk with Mr. Pandharkar, the future is really going to be bright for India. Mr. Pandharkar, really thankful to you. You came here to discuss such a wonderful topic, and the insight that we have given to us on AI was really going to be knowledge enriching. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Shreyas, and I enjoyed the conversation as well.
Thank you.
नमस्कार, माझं नाव रोहित पांढारकर. मी एक AI एक्सपर्ट आहे. लवकरच होणाऱ्या सकाळ जिओपॉलिटिकल समिटमध्ये आपण चर्चा करणार आहोत AI इन गव्हर्नन्स बद्दल. मी तिथे असणार आहे, तुम्ही पण या.